Heyo, Glad Man here. Alright, so we're doing another book review. I know there's lots of stuff going on in the world, and I'm just tired. Got a 4.5-month-old baby, but I am reading. I haven't been watching a lot of TV, mainly because I've been reading. When you get attached to a book, you just get into it, especially if it's a really good book, which is what I wanted to talk about. Sorry, I was looking to see, make sure I have my ring. Alright, the review of today, I actually have the book. Kings of the Wyld, spelled W-Y-L-D. Alright, and it's written by Nicholas Eames. I feel like I should have like a thing here where I can put the book. But anyhow, my buddy, Omar, has one of the coolest initials. Omar and then K. So his initials are OK, which is super fun. Set little sidebar. Anyhow, he suggested the book. And there wasn't a lot of like lead up to it. It was just like, hey, there's this book series or this book I read. I think you might like it. And then he even like brought it over when he came over to hang out. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm a little embarrassed to say this, bro. If you are watching this video, I didn't technically read the book. So the book that you lent me is still in the same condition that you gave it. I didn't do anything bad to it. I did audiobook. And just, I find even though I can read faster, technically, I go through books a lot quicker if I do audiobooks. So, anyhow, how to explain this book? Well, for starters, it's a fantasy book. And I've never heard of this author before, and I kind of want to read more of his content, so that's a good sign. I genuinely enjoyed the heck out of the book. I want to say it was a bit of a build-up, and maybe there's some parts in there that were like, not quite an eye roll, but some of it felt very much like if you were playing D&D, which if you don't know what D&D is, it's Dungeons and Dragons. But if you're basically playing like a scenario with a couple friends, in a way, that's kind of how the book came across. And I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, it was very enjoyable through and through the whole way. Each one of the characters were different and unique, and they had their arcs and their changes, but it was also like their weaknesses were their strengths, because as a group, they worked as a group, and not necessarily as individuals. As individuals, they might succeed, but as a group, it worked. It just worked, even though it shouldn't work, even though you felt like in some ways one member or the other of the group were not working. And I keep saying group, and group is the wrong word. Actually, it's a band. And that's probably one of the most lovely things about it. So let me just read the description on the back of the book for funsies. Glory never gets old. Clay Cooper and his band were once the best of the best, the most feared and renowned crew mercenaries this side of the Heartwild. Their glory days long past, the Mercs have grown apart and grown old, fat, drunk, or a combination of the three. Then an ex-bandmate turns up at Clay's door with a plea for help. The kind of mission that only the very brave or the very stupid would sign up for. It's time to get the band back together. So they're called a band. And one thing I will say, frankly, this movie I wish it was a movie. But okay, this book, it was a movie in my head, and that's how I read books. Is it a movie in my head? Could I visualize it? But this book built this world and let you live in it so quick. It just felt like putting on old boots, and you're like, cool, yeah, this is exactly right. I love this. This is terrific. And that's impressive, because especially other book worlds or series, I feel like they kind of like ease you into it, like start you off. Before you're climbing Mount Everest, you got to start with the little baby hike that's like, barely a day hike. It's like an hour there, hour back. This was just like, no, we're just going to go on the road. And then we're going to hit this mountain, and then at the end, we're going to get to this mountain, and you're just going to have a good time. This is a roller coaster of a hike as far as the story goes, and a world building. And I'm like, and it was fascinating because there was moments that almost were like exposition, but also not at all. So I felt like he tricked me somehow. He's like, "Hey, I'm giving you information, but it's not boring or lame, so you're welcome." And I'm like, I mean, thank you for the information. I kind of need it for the story, but you did such a good job. It just went right by my head. I was like, bravo, good job. That's how it should go. Thank you. In a way, I would say it's like not a drawback, but it's like a contemporary. It's very much fantasy, very much, sword, shield, sandals, whatever. Sword, shield, and sandals, the three S's. I just thought of that myself. Because like Hollywood says sandal movies, like Robin Hood or Gladiator, those are sandal movies. So I don't think there are sandal books. There's fiction, science fiction, and fantasy. Fiction being contemporary, science fiction being future and science, and fantasy being like Lord of the Rings, Tolkien, or House of the Dragon, or Game of Thrones. That's fantasy. If there's magic and ancient time. Anyhow, so this is very much fantasy, and it just kills it because it takes for granted some knowledge. Like, you got to know a little bit about orcs and stuff and just have heard of it. But in a weird way, you don't have to know about any of it because of that like little cheat code of exposition where they're like, this thing showed up, and you're like, wait, what is that? And they're like, it's got 3 heads. One of them is like this, the other one's like this, the other one's like this. And you're like, oh okay. I mean, thank you. And it's just the way that the writer does it that it seems like it feels like you're the main guy and you're being explained this because you don't know. And so like you're in the story and you don't know, and they're like, dude, wait, okay, yeah, this thing. And you're like, yeah, right, duh, I should know this. Continue. And it just works. And it's so interesting and fascinating, and I really appreciate it and applaud it in general. And it really just has all the things that you want in a story of, hey, give me information, give me this. And it does. It's just like, here you go. Here's happy helpings of, character and backstory without over backstory, and kind of moral quandaries and doing the right thing. That was a fascinating thing. I will get to the key thing in a second. But that was a fascinating thing is throughout the story, you're faced with choices. And some of them, you're like looking at these guys and you're like, well, they're clearly going to do this. And they almost do, but then they don't. And then you're like, oh, how's that going to work? Because that's... And then it works. And sometimes it kind of works epically in like weird ways, like accidentally. I don't know. It's just fascinating. And it's great. You have all these weird characters. Like you have your mage guy who he created a small business or a big business, whatever size business, where he basically makes Viagra. And you're like, what? But he's their like magician. But like he doesn't really do magic in the traditional sense, but he's like a wealth of knowledge. But he's kind of a cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs guy. And they do this interesting thing. Like one of the characters is gay, but like you wouldn't know that he's gay. Like he's not. They don't make that his personality. It's just that he is that because he loved a guy and he's a guy, and that's it. And they don't make it like his whole shtick. And I'm like, well, that's great. That's fascinating. And like, it's different for each, like, what's great is these characters are not just like cut, we got 6 people and they're all kind of, we molded them this way. And then they're going to be like this, but this one does this and this one does this and has minor character differences and whatever. It's like, it actually felt like the author really did a good job of creating 5 different people and then having them be in this band. Now I want to get to this last bit because I thought it was so funny. It took me about a third of the way into the book to like click, and I asked my friend, and he's like, "Yeah, no, the author purposely did that." And I was like, "I mean, it makes sense because it's like really, it's overt, and I feel dumb for not getting it." But they're called band. Like, let's get the band back together. And you can't help but notice as you get further and further into the book, really about a third of the way through, you'll get it real clearly, that like there's a lot of correlation between a band of mercenaries and a rock star band. So these guys get the band back together. They were like an iconic band. Think of, you know, your favorite band. For me, by the Eagles, right? But whatever. Maybe it was the Beatles for you, or whatever. Doesn't matter. Eagles, Beagles, Evil Knievel's. No, just kidding. Rolling Stone. Well, they're still together, I think. But like, think of that, like a legendary band that like broke up. Like, to me, it would be really good if System of a Down came back. If they came back, it'd be like, oh my god, and did like a really killer album. You're like, yeah, I'm glad you guys came back. And in a way, that's kind of what this felt like. Was album is going on an adventure and kicking a lot of butt and taking a lot of names. And in a weird way, that's kind of what this whole story is for a good reason. They got together to kick a lot of butt and take a lot of names, and you are there for the ride and you just love it. And I'm so thankful my buddy suggested it to me. I ate it up as quickly as I could. Like, as soon as I started, I just couldn't help and just like blah 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 blah. So I highly suggest it. It's amazing. Here it is again, Kings of the Wyld by Nicholas Ames. Highly suggest, get the book, do the audiobook, Libby if you use that. Whatever, it's awesome. Highly suggest. Not quite kid appropriate, full disclosure, but you know, read it for yourself. It's good. All right, love you all. Fly man out. Talk to you soon. Bye.